that's the sound of the police.
Yes. I love that. I honestly love that.
Is that the way to begin the episode?
No, it just start the episode be like, buckle up, motherfuckers.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Gavin.
I'm Louie.
And we're the Mixed Reviews.
We sure are. And
we sound like a 60s band. We're the Mixed Reviews.
Just start the Kesha song. Let's go. Hi, we're so excited to be here. We're glad that you're here with us.
We love you. We'll kiss each and every one of you.
Yeah, I will. I honestly will.
I will let Louie do that, but
Thank you. Oh my God.
I'll be a little more selective.
I'll just be super slutty about it.
But hey, thanks everybody for coming. This is a podcast. If this is your first episode, because every podcast is somebody's first episode.
Virgins, losers. Yeah, no.
Hey, I'm right here.
Sorry, Gavin.
This is a podcast in which we take something in the film world, be it a director, a film company, actor, as the universal term for both male and female, and we dissect their career, and we look at the things that sort of work and the things that don't necessarily work that well, at least for us.
Right.
So,
it's what's our tagline? Is it?
It's 2 weeks,
one topic, 2 weeks, lots of opinion.
Yeah. Even more.
More. Something like that.
You came up with the tag.
I really did come up with it. I was good at words.
Why couldn't you just come up with, like, pizza or something like that?
Little Caesars, the iconic pizza.
You know, that's me on Mad Men. Like, people are like, this carousel, it reminds me of my childhood. And I just pushed John Hamm over. Yeah, pizza!
And they're like, that's fucking genius.
Genius.
Cut, print, we're done.
End of series.
Right. This episode is a little bit different, or it's our first.
Yeah.
Time.
Be gentle.
Right. We decided not to pick an actor, an actress, or a director, or a company. We decided to go with an entire genre.
A genre. For those of you who don't know what a genre is, read a book.
Right.
What?
Like, I was like, Gavin, don't. They don't.
They don't.
So our genre that we chose is buddy cop movies.
Yes, we chose that.
Right, I chose that because you know what? Gavin made me watch all his Joan Crawford movies, and I was like, okay, you know what? To be fair, I enjoyed it.
I was like, Louie, you're not a big enough bitch.
Right.
And then Louie was like, Gavin, you're not butch enough.
Right. I was like, Gavin, let's just be masked for like 2 weeks, see what happens.
Exactly.
Be masked, see what happens. Before we dive into the buddy cops movies, though, we have some business.
We have some old business,
some sad business, disappointing business.
Yeah, guys, I never want to shame the audience because I love you and I'm glad you come back week after week. But our poll for our last episode, which was on Queen Charlize,
Queen Charlize Theron.
Yes.
We asked you what your favorite Charlize movie was, and here are the results. A shocking results. North Country came in last with 3%. In third place came Monster with 23%.
I told you right before this, even though Monster wasn't my pick last week, if you recall, my pick last week was Young Adult. I voted for Monster.
Right.
I think Monster's her undeniable masterpiece.
Right. And Young Adult came in second place with 31%. And fucking Mad Max came
43% first place.
Who? First of all, how dare you?
Now, admittedly, there were 35 votes, so, like, I mean, who knows? It's funny, because I retweeted it at one point, and I was like, do y'all really think Mad Max is her best performance? And I got a response that was like, yes.
And a resounding yes.
So...
I did have one person who was like, where the fuck is Atomic Blonde? And, North Country was like, this is my last kind of random pick. I was like, she's got nominated for an Oscar for it. Like, why not?
Yeah. And like, I liked it. We talked about Atomic Blonde. We both liked it, but like, I don't know. North Country's more like,
I think they're both equally good in different ways. But,
yes.
The point is Mad Max. How dare? Honestly.
And once again, it's not even a movie I hate, but like, what? She's got 12 lines in it, and like...
It's those steely stares that she
gives. It's all those fuck you Tom Hardy looks.
Yeah. It was her having to fucking deal with Tom Hardy and his bullshit.
We'll deal with you, Tom Hardy.
Right. Oh, you will. I'll deal with you. That became very sexual, Gavin. Okay, so yeah, now we're done with Charlize and fucking Mad Max.
So I guess it's time for us to move on to our current topic, buddy cop movies.
And we should get into the rewind.
Rewind!
there's a lot of good analysis about the buddy cop movie genre online, and one of my favorite articles I printed out, I have it here, it's called The Art of the Buddy Cop Genre, A Look Behind the Badge. And this is by, I can't find the author anywhere.
I'll look that up, and I'll just let you get into it, and then I'll randomly pop in.
It's on screenhead.com.
Screenhead?
Yeah, screenhead.com. So
now that I've slandered them.
Right, correct. Sounds so weird. So the buddy cop film has been defining part of mainstream cinema for decades, combining both action and comedy around two contrasting characters. They're often very different from each other, and so that kind of builds tension. So the audience is engaged, and we can't wait to see what's going to happen next. The formula is very simple. It's two very different people have to work together to solve a particular crime. One is the wild gun, an over-the-top, eccentric, and comedic character who's always getting into trouble. And the other is a hard-hitting, by-the-rules books guy who guides the wild gun. So there's always one person who's like, I'm too old for this shit, and very that. And then the other one's like, I'm crazy, you don't know what I'm going to do.
It's funny because it's kind of a reinvention of a very old genre, which is just in general the buddy film, which is funny, which is more interesting because like that sort of derived from the sort of relationship comedy, which usually was like a man and a woman, and like what sort of makes, and I've read this a couple different places, what sort of makes the best buddy cop movies is the idea of like, these people would be a couple if only they weren't two men.
Right, exactly.
And, yeah, you're right. Like, it's sort of like you go back in the, like Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello.
Fellas interested in a case?
A case? A case of what? Shh, quiet. Oh, yes. You want us to handle a case?
Yeah. Which one of you is McQuillan?
I am.
Who's who?
He's Mac, I'm Corn.
You can just call us Bud and Lou.
All the way through, like, The Odd Couple and Parent Trap. It's like
totally.
The prim and proper versus the wild card.
Yeah, exactly. And then throw in a bunch of fucking guns.
Yes.
And I can't wait.
This article was written on October 18th, 2015 by Ryan Vessera.
Thank you, Ryan. This is a really good article. So the buddy cop has a really unusual origin. It wasn't an American made, genre, I guess. Even though it really found its footing in American films. It was actually a Japanese film, 1949 Stray Dog. And so Stray Dog isn't a comedy. It's a dark and gritty noir, where the two characters don't really joke around a lot, but one is kind of like a young and rookie cop who is like lighthearted. And then there is a hardened, experienced veteran, character. So TV got their hands on, buddy cop stuff first. And it wasn't until the early 80s when the film version of this finally got its formal debut. That was in 1982's 48 Hours, starring Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte.
Yeah, Nick Nolte back when he used to sound human.
Correct.
Nick Nolte before he sounded like this all the time.
I was like, who is this human being?
Yeah, it's funny. You can actually sort of see the progression if you watch 48 Hours and then another 48 Hours. Because 48 Hours, he's like, I'm Nick Nolte, blah, blah, blah. And then by 48 Hours, another 48 Hours, he's like, screw you, Eddie Murphy.
Right, exactly. Another 48 Hours was like, all it made me think was like, oh, they've been making shitty sequels forever.
Yeah.
This is, not a new thing. So take heart in that when you have to go see Transformers 16.
And you will have to. It will be government mandated.
Correct.
Based on how power politics are going.
Exactly. So 48 Hours formally kicked off the buddy cop genre. Lethal Weapon, though, in 1987 took the torch and carried it even further.
Thank you, Shane Black.
Thank you so much. It was a commercial and critical hit, and it set the new standard with Danny Glover and Mel Gibson.
Problematic.
Right, problematic. I mean, a lot of buddy cop movies, though, are so problematic.
Oh, yes.
Even the best ones, I'm like, man, what a time the 80s were, huh? What a time.
Everybody really was on coke.
Right. And so movie after movie of crazy pairings. It was later, the genre started getting stale, though. And so, of course, all these fun new spins started coming out of the genre. And so it's the same thing, but different. Essentially, Hollywood decided to say.
Yeah.
It's like a buddy cop film, but with fill in the blank. And so we've already talked about, on the Whoopi Goldberg episode, Theodore Rex, where it was Whoopi and a fucking dinosaur. We talked about, on our Will Smith episode, Bad Boys. And also he was in Men in Black. And so that's basically
buddy cop movies with aliens.
With aliens.
Yep. One of my favorites, and it's like the funny thing is like things fit into the buddy cop genre without the characters having to be cops necessarily.
Right.
And one of my favorite examples of that is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, in which you have a private investigator and a cartoon working together to solve this crime. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. It totally works, though.
And that's exactly what it is.
Drink the drink.
But I don't want the drink.
He doesn't want the drink. He does.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You don't.
I do.
You don't.
I do.
You don't.
Listen, when I say I do, that means I do. Come on, Eddie, let's get out of here.
Because he's the straight-laced, hard-nosed, a tune killed my brother, I'm not funny.
Right.
And Roger's like a
maniac.
Yeah, exactly. Patty cake.
And then in the late 80s, there was the cop and dog genre, which brought Turner and Hooch, K-9.
It's funny, I was thinking about K-9 the other day because it was like, oh, Turner and Hooch is a thing. And I was like, oh, remember the low-rent version of that?
Not great. Not great. And all the films are present vital elements of friendship, dependence, and mixed comedy and action all within the film. So there's so much to talk about with buddy cop movies. There's also, we're not really too much talking about serious buddy cop movies.
But the funny thing is, essentially all buddy cop films, regardless of if they're like more action oriented or less action oriented, are comedies and manners, which is also another very old, like, British style of theater, which is just like, like the person who doesn't have manners and the person who does have manners. So even it doesn't matter how serious they are, because the 48 Hours movies are like quote unquote funny.
Right.
But they're not.
But they're not.
But the jokes are just derived from the differonces between...
Totally. When you see, like, Eddie Murphy go into that, like, cowboy bar, which I was like, oh, were there cowboy bars in San Francisco? I don't know. But, like, it's just, a lot, again, problematic and crazy and hard to watch, kind of. I'm like, oh, this comedy is very aggressive.
Oh, would I just thought about Blazing Saddles would be a buddy cop comedy, because Gene Wilder and, Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of it is just like kind of like out of place. I'm thinking about Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
It's only Eddie Murphy. He doesn't really have a buddy.
But Judge Reinhold, you could argue Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, kind of.
Not necessarily in the first one, but later films.
I was more thinking also like just the placement of him in a new place where he has to like figure things out, and he's kind of out of water.
But yeah, we're mostly focusing on the more humorous ones.
Right. It's because. And there could be an argument about, Training Day and End of Watch. And...
Well, and like one of the very first ones was this 70s film. A couple of summers ago, I did this project where I tried to watch every film mentioned in the Cellulite Closet, and there's this film called Freebie and the Bean, which is like incredibly racist.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's Alan Arkin and James Caan.
Alan Arkin playing Mexican.
And he's the Bean.
And his name's the Bean.
Hilarious.
Right.
Awful.
Again, in San Francisco.
Yes, and like, so that one predates 48 Hours, but still, like, the genre hadn't really been cemented in American films yet.
Get his gun! He hasn't got a gun! What do you mean he hasn't got a gun? I'm telling you, he hasn't got a gun! Get his ID something, will you? Oh! He's a Cadillac salesman from Detroit! What are you doing here? What are you doing here, asshole? What are you doing here?
Yeah, and
it's coming to DVD soon, guys, from the Warner Archive, by the way. Yeah, if you've been missing your Freebie and the Bean contingent.
And
there was a TV show after that.
Yeah, and not only, again, a lot of these movies, they kind of hit a lot of the same notes, and a lot of homophobia is also entrenched.
Tons of racism,
a lot of homophobia, and it's kind of just about the tension of like, oh, I'm going to talk shit about you, and can you take it? Can you handle it? Like, can you hang? Some of the movies, I guess, that kind of falls away because there's not a lot of. There might be you're going to go to jail and get raped type thing, like, which is over and over again. I'm like, God, like,
it's surprising when you look at, like, especially I rewatched both the first two Lethal Weapons, and then I finally saw the first two 48 Hours movies, which I was surprisingly not a fan of, even though a lot of people tell me how great they are. The Lethal Weapon is kind of the inversion of 48 Hours because it doesn't really rely on that sort of race. The first 48 Hours is all about racism.
All about it.
Which is so weird because Nick Nolte's captain is also black.
Right.
But, like, he treats Eddie Murphy literally like a second-class citizen. And the only time, like, right before the very end, he comes around and he's just like, I'm just busting your chops. And, like, Eddie Murphy's like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. It's like, no!
Right.
Hey, I don't want to hear your jive. I already got that department taken care of.
You got a lady, Kate?
Yeah.
You know, the generosity of women never ceases to amaze me, you know that? Hey, don't even try this shit, man. I don't work like this, no deal.
Listen, we ain't got no deal. I own your ass.
Ain't no goddamn way to start a partnership.
Now get this. We ain't partners. We ain't brothers and we ain't friends. I'm putting you down and keeping you down until Gans is locked up or dead. And if Gans gets away, you're gonna be sorry you ever met me.
If you haven't seen 48 Hours, it's like Eddie Murphy's a convict.
Yes.
And he gets somehow released in the care of the police officer to help him solve a crime.
Right, because he's connected to the criminal. He was cellmates with the criminal.
Right, but literally the entire movie he calls him convict.
Yes.
He's like, get over here, convict! And I'm
Well, when he's not calling him the N-word.
Right, correct. Right. One last thing I want to say from Ryan's article. What makes Lethal Weapon such a defining example of how the buddy cop genre is good and excellent is how the characters interact with each other. Like all good on-screen relationships, the two grow to respect and love each other, which ultimately results in teamwork and getting the case solved. So there's two things that are happening. It's like we're getting closer to the end of the mystery and the crime, but also they need to learn how to work with each other and respect each other and help each other survive.
Right.
And it, especially in Lethal Weapon, that's really clear because Mel Gibson's character is suicidal.
Briggs! Yo! After all we've been through, if you think I'm gonna eat the world's lousiest Christmas turkey by myself, you're crazy.
I'll tell you a little secret.
What?
I'm not crazy.
I know.
Oh, good. Let's eat. Hey, you know something? Well, I think your daughter kind of likes me.
If you touch it, I'll kill you.
You'll try.
And this is just one example. It happens through lots of these movies where the buddies cannot survive whatever situation that they're in personally without the other person. That happens in Hot Fuzz when the character is transferred to the small town and he's freaking out. Right. He doesn't want to be there, and he learns how to survive through his friend. It happens over and over. And so I think a lot of the success for a buddy cop movie is when those two things are happening. It's not just, we solved the crime together, like who fucking cares?
Right.
But it's where the personal and the professional intersect. So yeah. And so I think, do you think there's more to talk about?
No, I think that's really it. Like you said, it's the two worlds coming together, and also the crime reaching its natural conclusion.
Right, and a lot of them, I think we'd be remiss to say if we didn't talk about how a lot of the buddy cop, you rarely see like the buddies. Like,
right.
You usually get, I did just see the other guys, and it's Will Ferrell and
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
But in there, it's, I know, like, there's more obvious difference when you have a black person and a white person.
Right.
But, like, in there, the concept is, like, Mark Wahlberg's, like, the big hero action star, and Will Ferrell's, like, the slightly
nerd,
pudgy.
Right. But we also
But now they're stepdads. It's fine.
Right, but now they're stepdads, thank God. Oh, they've graduated. But even thinking into, like, the interracial aspects to a lot of these movies is so, like, key. Think about the Rush Hour movies, which are excellent.
It's funny. I watched this movie, Walter Hill movie. Walter Hill also did the 48 Hours films called Red Heat,
right?
Which is Arnold Schwarzenegger and I suddenly can't think of his name.
Jim Belushi?
Yeah, Jim Belushi.
Is that him? I guessed that. Yeah. Oh my god.
Sorry, you're the more forgettable of the two Belushis, Jim.
Right.
And like apparently it's like an unspoken sort of thing that Rush Hour is a remake of Red Heat. Because it's a foreign detective who comes over to solve a crime in America. Right. And like almost all the humor is based on the fact that they can't communicate with each other.
I will say, though, Rush Hour, I think, is way more successful than Red Heat.
Absolutely. Red Heat's awful.
Jackie Chan has the charisma.
Arnold Schwarzenegger can't do a Russian accent,
right?
Which is hilarious.
Right.
And also he, like, is bug-eyed most of the movie. Like, that scene where his face is imploding on Mars in Total Recall, he's like that for the entire film.
I have car under control.
Yeah, sure. I suppose they taught you everything you need to know about car wrecks and the price of insurance in your famous school in Kiev.
Socialist countries, insurance not necessary. State pays for everything.
Yeah. Well, tell me something, Captain. If you got such a fucking paradise over there, how come you're up the same creek as we are with heroin and cocaine?
Chinese find way. Right after revolution, they line up all drug dealers, all drug addicts, take them to public square, and shoot them in back of head.
That never worked here. Fucking politicians wouldn't go for it.
Shoot them first.
I think there's also like some key characters that show up in a lot of these movies. There we have Sylvester Stallone showing up in many of these. Tango and Cash.
Tango Cash.
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Demolition Man.
Right, and then we have Will Smith in Bad Boys.
Right.
Men in Black.
Martin Lawrence is another one.
Martin Lawrence, yeah.
Eddie Murphy, as we mentioned before, both the Beverly Hills Cop series and the 48 Hours series.
Totally.
Yeah, so there's a lot of... Emilio Estevez is actually one of my favorite unsung heroes of buddy cop film.
In Stakeout?
He's in Stakeout, another Stakeout, and a personal favorite of mine, a movie that does not hold up very well, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
What?
Oh, yes. We'll get to that later.
Okay, we're going to get to that later. Okay, good. I love this genre so much. It's weird because you either have to like let go and accept the crazy, ridiculous, saxophones playing all the time,
so many saxophones.
Crazy villains who like none of the plot of all these movies. Do not care. I do not care. There's a bad guy out there, and these two crazy people who like are like mismatched have to go through antics to solve the crime and mystery and figure it out. And if you just like allow yourself to have the fun with it, like you can go places, you know.
Or if you're like me, you just grip your desk the whole time, going, "I hate you, Louie."
You break off.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of these movies I feel like are made for a specific person, but like there's a certain joy of watching Lethal Weapon and like Point Break.
Point Break's another great example of like the unconventional buddy cop movie.
Yeah, totally. I watched it for the first time, and I'm having nightmares.
You only saw it for the first time?
Keanu Reeves saying,
I grew up with that movie, so...
Vaya con Dios.
My favorite... Vaya con Dios. I had to cut out my Keanu Reeves impression from a previous episode, so I'm leaving that one in.
Good. I could not believe... I was like, Catherine Bigelow directed?
My favorite moment in that movie, though, is Lori Petty going... shh, and putting her finger on his mouth, because I'm just like, ugh. Like, and I love Lori Petty, but just like, no.
That movie is... I mean, it's almost like this weird nostalgia that I never lived because I'm whatever. But
you're 12.
Because I'm 12. But I was like, man, the 80s were fucking wild, and they could get away with making movies. It's almost as if like Michael Bay wishes, Michael Bay wishes he was making movies as fun and campy as these movies.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we should get into maybe we should start. Positive. You know what?
Okay.
We're having such a good time.
Right.
Let's go into our 5-star reviews.
5-star reviews.
I will say, nothing I watched changed my mind about anything.
Can you tell me how many of these movies had you already seen?
I had seen a bunch. I had seen at least 20. I had seen, the entire Bad Boys franchise, which I saw from the Will Smith episode, actually. I'd seen all the Beverly Hills Cops movies.
But even as a kid, a teenager.
Lethal Weapon movies, I've seen all of them except for Part 4.
Right.
Just in general. Freebie and the Bean I'd seen, like Osmosis Jones, the other guys. Like, a lot of these movies are movies I did elect to see. The Heat, I think The Heat is really great.
Amazing.
I've seen all 3 Rush Hour films, so I will say I had seen a lot going in.
You were well versed.
Right. But there was a bunch of gaps in there, and a lot of them were like 48 Hours or the Stakeout films, or even like Alien Nation, which is a movie I should have seen, which is like an alien cop and a human cop.
Love that.
Played by James Caan. Mandy Patinkin's the alien cop.
Mandy Patinkin's an alien?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that one. I'll have to go back.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Thanks.
So the variety does there is a variety there. But I think in terms of like the purest distilled, the person who was able to make sort of the perfect buddy cop movie, and it seems sort of odd, and you brought it up earlier, my 5-star review would be Hot Fuzz, which is, it's a movie that can't exist without other things in the genre. But I love Hot Fuzz. I think Hot Fuzz is Edgar Wright's masterpiece. I know some people would argue me on that. They'd say Shaun of the Dead. I think Shaun of the Dead's actually a funnier movie, which might be, is really high praise. But I think overall, in terms of being a great movie, Hot Fuzz is that. And
Totally.
like, honestly, could not exist, especially, I mean, there's obvious call-outs in the film. There's Point Break and there's Bad Boys. Like, obviously couldn't exist without those. But like, it really stands on its own. It's a really fun and charming mystery. It draws elements from everywhere. Everything from, Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express to, to things like, Catherine Bigelow films and Ridley Scott films and Tony Scott films and, Michael Bay films. And Edgar Wright just found this really strange and interesting way to like combine those things. The movie's co-written by Simon Pegg, who also stars in it, along with Nick Frost. And as I mentioned, they're in Shaun of the Dead. It's the second part of the loose trilogy that is the Cornetto trilogy, which is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End. Is it At World's End?
Something like that. End of the world.
Yeah,
world is ending.
There was a bunch of movies that came out with that name. That year.
Really. Yeah, correct.
And I just think it's like the strongest direction from Edgar Wright, the most stylish direction from Edgar Wright, but also the heart that Simon Pegg, and I think one of the big compliment I would give Simon Pegg, especially after seeing Baby Driver, is that he's sort of the heart of their writing team, and that's not, I liked Baby Driver, but like, I think what's sort of missing there is the characters, and I think Simon Pegg really brings that out. Hot Fuzz, very simple. It's a man who is like a crazy, like the best cop you've ever seen. He's so good, his department doesn't even want him anymore because he's
making everyone look bad.
He's making everyone look bad. So they send him to this small town where he's instantly teamed with Nick Frost, who's the son of the police commissioner, and he's a complete idiot and like terrible being a cop. And also, there's no crime in this town.
Have you ever seen Point Break?
No.
Amazing bit in Point Break where they jump over fences.
Is that not 29?
Patrick Swayze's just robbed this bank. And Keanu Reeves is chasing him through people's gardens. And he goes to shoot Swayze, but he can't because he loves him so much. And he's firing his gun up in the air. He's like, oh!
30.
Have you ever fired your gun up in the air and gone, ah?
No, I have not ever fired my gun up in the air and gone, ah.
30. Sorry, I just feel like I'm missing out sometimes. I want to do what you do.
You do what I do. What on earth do you think you're missing out on?
Gunfights, car chases, proper action and shit.
Police work is not about proper action. Or shit. 29. If you'd have paid attention to me in school, you'd understand that it's not all about gunfights and car chases.
Nick Angel, which is the character Simon Pegg plays, clearly is uncomfortable with the fact he's like, there's something wrong with this town. Really funny wordplay, really funny, like, and their relationship is I think the closest you really get to a romance too in a buddy cop movie. Like, if they kissed at the end, I don't think anybody would have cared. Nope. I think it would have been like, yeah, of course.
And then they were happily ever after.
Exactly.
Okay, they got a nice cottage, raised some kids.
Exactly. And
fought crime.
And like, just really like, the dialogue's on point, the editing is on point, everything about that movie.
You mean the dialogue? Jog off.
Yes.
So good. There's so many good one-liners in there.
Every line that Timothy Dalton utters in that film, including his introduction.
Lock me up.
I'm sorry?
I'm a slasher, and I must be stopped.
You're a what?
A slasher of prices. Just kidding. I'm Simon Skinner. I run the local supermarché. Drop in and see me sometime. My discounts are criminal. Catch me later!
That movie is very, very good. I was so happy that you chose Hot Fuzz.
I love Hot Fuzz. I could watch Hot Fuzz. I mean, Hot Fuzz is one of the, not to get super personal, one of the last movies I watched with my dad, too. So, like, it just holds a really special place in my heart. Especially since I grew up, like I said, watching Lethal Weapon and seeing all these movies with him. It was nice for me to share, like, be like, this is the thing, this is the culmination of all those movies. And he loved it. And, like, it's...
You can tell that Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost have a deep reverence for those movies. And we didn't get on this in our rewind, but, like, the modern, buddy cop movies, they almost have to exist in a self-referential way.
Yes, yeah. They all have to have a hint of parody.
Right.
in
They,
them,
they all have to either throw back and be like, oh, let's do like good cop, bad cop, you know, like that thing that everything always happens, or let's do the thing that like always happens. And, you know, and this movie's very explicit about it because they're, you know, they literally watch Bad Boys 2.
Yes.
2 specifically.
Yeah. Well, there's a great moment where he's like, you know, do you want to see Point Break or Bad Boys 2? And he's like, which one? And he's like, why not both? You know, like,
yeah, he's like, no, which one are we watching first?
Yeah. Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the movie's so good. I remember watching that for my birthday in college when it came out, and I was just like, I was like laughing the entire time. It's so good.
I used to be a news producer, and I worked an overnight shift, and I would work from 11 p.m. till 10 a.m., which is a hell of a shift.
Right.
And me and a couple guys from the crew, we would go see movies on Friday in the morning, and Hot Fuzz was one of the movies we saw, and I just don't think anybody was prepared for it. And they like loved it, and like that's also a really nice memory I have surrounding that movie, seeing it on the big screen, exhausted with all these other like
you guys would get off work at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
and you go watch a movie,
and we go watch a movie, yeah. Because you're leading into the weekend, and you don't want to like you want to get your sleep cycle back,
right?
So,
true,
like,
fair.
So like. Yeah, those...
I will say Hot Fuzz is a very British
yes.
buddy cop movie. It is very reminiscent of a lot of Monty Python humor and stuff. Like you want to be engaged with the wordplay and the dialogue because it's so good.
Well, the other thing is like I don't care about being macho. I've never cared about being macho.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of guns. I'm not a super fan of police. I'll be honest.
Right.
And so like British police, I think is the like. The sort of great culmination of like because they don't carry guns and they don't, you know.
It's funny because it feels very on brand with them, and worth mentioning, buddy cop genre expands far and beyond the United States. I saw Bon Cop Bad Cop, which is Canadian.
I loved Bon Cop Bad Cop. I was gonna wait until we we had more to mention, but yeah, I watched it. Hilarious. Looks like an episode of CSI. That's real bad.
Right. But it's hilarious.
Let's go. Ça m'a fait plaisir. Bonne chance, les boys.
Hey, where are you going?
Chez nous. This is obviously your case.
What do you mean, our case? It's very clearly your case.
How'd you figure that? His feet are on your side.
Exactly, and his head is on your side. What's your point?
My point? If you play football or tennis or whatever, you step over the line, you're out. OK, les boys, on n'a plus rien à faire ici. On t'écrit.
OK. May I remind you that in the 100-yard dash, it's the head and chest that break the tape. In horse racing, it's by a nose.
I saw The Guard, which is Irish.
Yes.
Which is a very Irish movie. Which
is funny because he's since gone... I love that filmmaker. And he's since gone on to direct another buddy cop movie, which is War on Everyone, which just came out a couple years ago. And it's terrible.
Really?
Yeah, it's set in America. And I watched it and I was so angry.
The Guard, it was like very like quiet.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you laugh, it's like, chuckle to myself for that.
It's funny because that film, I wish I could remember his name, and his brother's also really famous, and he's a playwright and a very funny filmmaker. He directed a film called Calvary a couple years ago that was in my top 10 films of that year. So, like, I love that filmmaker, so I was super upset when I watched War on Everyone, and it was such nonsense.
Mixed reviews.
Yeah, mixed reviews. But, Louie, what is your 5-star review?
I am glad that you chose Hot Fuzz, a modern movie, because I did not.
Oh,
I chose a classic, a throwback, one that has a very bad rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but overall, I do not care. My pick is Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash!
It's Tango and Cash, and I'll tell you why.
There's a great episode of How Did This Get Made about that movie.
So literally, I told you this. I dove so hard and deep into this episode. I really didn't like look up much about these movies. I was just like watching them like vigorously, and I just like read the Wikipedia page about Tango and Cash, and apparently it was a fucking mess to get made.
Yeah,
like directors were fired and new editors were called in. It was the last movie to come out in 1989, December 22nd, I believe. It's starring Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell, and Patrick Swayze was originally set to star in it, but then dropped out. Warner Brothers didn't know what they wanted the movie to be. Some people wanted it to be very serious. Other people just wanted it to be full spoof. And apparently Sylvester Stallone was the reason why this movie like was held together. I will also say Sylvester Stallone has never looked better.
He looks really good.
Like
though I would offer the movie Oscar, but whatever. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea.
I've not seen.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
We'll move on.
So Tango and Cash. Sylvester Stallone plays Tango. Tango and Cash is their last names. I don't know what the fuck their first names are.
Yeah,
it's Tango and Cash. And he plays he reads the paper and trades stocks on Wall Street.
Yeah, he's like a stock genius,
right?
If I remember correctly.
And he wears tiny glasses, and suits. And this movie made me remember, this is why Sylvester Stallone is a huge megastar around the world. He had charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, and the body, okay? I was oh, before he fucked up his face, and was, I don't know what steroids, I don't know. But this movie, he looks amazing, impeccable. And also, it's kind of he was playing against type,
Right.
He was not totally just
right. And it's funny, because Kurt Russell's sort of playing the role that you would expect.
Right, totally. And Kurt Russell, on the other hand, is getting shot up, and he's wearing nothing. He looks like a fucking hobo.
Which is funny because Kurt Russell, obviously, he had already done the Escape from New York with the tough guy thing, but he got his start doing an Elvis movie and looking like a nerd and everything.
Right.
So you would expect him to be the nerdier of the two, but no, Sylvester Stallone plays it. It's a little role reversal.
Yeah, and so they're they're both very good at their jobs, but they're not on the same beat or some shit.
Right.
And there's great scenes where they open up the front page of the paper and Tango's at the top of the page, oh, he thwarted some shit, and at the bottom of the page is cash, and he's oh, he thwarted something else. I was really? You thwarted a bank robbery, and front page of the LA Times.
Well, I love the fact that the LA Times knows these cops'
right,
names.
Right. The LA Times is Tango in the headline, and there is a bad guy. I don't know who it is, what he wants, but
I don't remember who played the bad guy yet. Is it Jack Palance?
I have it here. Hold on. Yeah, Jack Palance.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
He's we gotta take out Tango and Cash, but, they can't be killed, so how do we, get them? Literally, because, they keep escaping or whatever. And they decide to frame them, and throw them in jail. And so they frame them for this
murder. That shot, and I still to this day, I did not rewatch this movie.
Right.
But I've always had an esteem for this movie, I will admit, because it's ridiculous.
It is complete ridiculous.
But the shot that they walk into prison, and I always think about this, there's burning toilet paper, raining down.
There's burning thing, and they're just walking. I was Los Angeles in the 80s was either fucking crazy or the people making this movie were just we want visual extravaganza, craziness. And this is definitely one of those movies where it's people.
The category is Tango and Cash Prison Eleganza.
Yes, God. It is insane. The filmmakers, there's many of them, clearly, were they don't give a fuck. They just wanted it to look insane. They have a crazy prison escape where literally Sylvester Stallone, puts his hand inside of a spinning fan and holds it up so Cash can run out. I was you're expecting me to believe that this whirlwind turbine just stopped because Sylvester Stallone said so? It's insane. There's a great moment where they're oh, you gotta make sure you don't touch the wires or you'll fry your brain out. They're supposed to be murdered inside the prison, and that's how they were gonna get rid of them. And they bind them up and they put them in water and they start shocking them and they're crazy. I mean, This movie is beyond macho, beyond masculine.
I mean, you're getting a little radical here, aren't you?
What's radical?
Blowing a man's head off with a fucking hand grenade is a touch much, don't you think?
You got your way, I got mine. I'm kind of glad you didn't want to talk, Rakeem. You know that?
Let me just shoot him in the goddamn leg. He'll talk.
I don't want the leg. I want the whole package.
Maybe he doesn't know anything, okay?
I don't really care.
What do you mean you don't care? What the fuck is this? You're a cop.
Look, I was a cop. But because of this dirtbag and his friends, we're on the run. No, it's payback.
That's enough. I mean it.
Is it?
Oh, man, I heard about you.
Did you?
I heard you were a fucking Section 8. I didn't believe all that weird sadistic bullshit I heard you pull, but you are, man. You're for real.
But I will say, I never got any... I don't remember any homophobic feelings or things. I mean, honestly, it's kind of homoerotic, if there's anything. They're all wet and just tied up, and they're it's... I don't know. This movie just took me beyond. This is not you're not supposed to believe any of this is real. Nothing about this is kind of living in our normal human world. It is just pure fun. I enjoyed all of it. Terry Hatcher is in this movie.
Terry Hatcher's in it, yeah.
Oh my God. And
I was waiting for you to mention Terry Hatcher.
I was my gay brain was searching for her. I was there she is. She's in this movie and she plays Sylvester Stallone's sister, and she's a dancer and she just wants to dance. There's a great scene where Cash has escaped the prison and it has to go find her because Tango said to go find her for help, and she's at this bar and she's dancing, and for a second I'm is she a whore? I don't know. she like
technical term.
Right.
Yeah.
She like asks to the bartender, she's like, sticks. And he like gives her some drumsticks and she like just starts doing this whole like synth drum moment. It's absolutely amazing. I wish I remember some more of like the good one-liners for this movie because I know that they exist. And they eventually like escape and like they prove that they're innocent. This movie is just like from beginning to end, nonstop, batshit crazy, and I fucking loved every second of it. It's pure camp before like, you know, now when people try to do camp, it's like, oh,
right.
Well, meh. This was like, they were very sincere.
Yeah.
But they were very sincere when they were like...
I feel like it was sort of the tipping point between, because as you mentioned, the modern buddy cop movie has like an element of parody to it. I think that was right on the tipping edge of like, they still hadn't pushed it far enough. And maybe that was the straw that breaks the camel back, where they just pushed it just far enough. Do you have any runners up? Because I have at least one really strong runner up.
I have to say The Heat is so fucking good.
I fucking love The Heat.
I asked you to stay out. I need to go tough on him. Oh, are you not already doing that? No, I'm doing good cop, bad cop.
You know, I can hear you.
Shut up. Just, please, don't do anything crazy. I'm not gonna do anything crazy.
What am I gonna do that's crazy? I'm a police officer. Huh? I mean, what am I gonna shoot you in the
God.
dick?
You said nothing crazy, and that is a no.
Turn around. I need you to pass a polygraph.
Put it away.
Turn around.
No.
Don't worry, she's not gonna do it. She's not gonna do anything.
Oh, okay. So you just want to go and gamble with your scrotum and your testicles? Okay, gamble away.
I was not ready for it to be that good.
As an editor, I hate The Heat, but I love it in terms of comedy. When I first saw that movie in the theater, I noticed there's a scene, like there's clearly a scene missing in that movie where there's a plot point missing.
And they're like, whatever.
And yeah, and they like, because they reference, there's a scene in a car between Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock where they reference something that you've not seen in the movie, but you don't care because it's a comedy. But it like pissed me off because I was just like, come on. And that's a product of Paul Feig's really into improv. And like that's the thing I have again. Like I like Ghostbusters, the one that came out last year. I like The Heat. I fucking love
Bridesmaids?
No, the Spy one.
Oh, Spy.
Yeah, Spy.
It's
yes.
really called Spy.
I fucking love Spy, but like as an editor, I hate those movies because they're edited so poorly.
I will also say, just to get this out, there was a buddy cop movie with women made in the 80s called Feds.
Yes, which I've seen,
and it is not good.
No, it's not.
But just, you know, the twist of being women has been done before, but Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock and their powers combined was just pure cinema gold.
And that's like, if you think about it, it's technically not even Sandra Bullock's first buddy cop movie because there's Miss Congeniality too.
Oh god! I was like, you said fucking 2 and it ruined everything.
I would like to give my honorable mention to. I did mention Who Framed Roger Rabbit before, which I think is a really brilliant film. Demolition Man is a personal favorite of mine. Speaking of Sylvester Stallone,
I haven't seen it.
Also, Sandra Bullock.
Really?
Yeah. Sylvester Stallone plays a cop who's like too reckless, and so he gets tried for his crimes, and he's trying to take down Wesley Snipes.
True villain.
Yeah, and they both get cryogenically frozen, and he gets woken up in a future that's like a very liberal utopia, but it's not really because
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Exactly. And like you can't swear, you can't like cops carry like electric sticks and stuff, and it's instantly partnered with Sandra Bullock, who's like studied the 20th century. She loves the 20th century.
How old is she in this movie?
Oh, it was like one of her first movies.
She's 16.
Yeah, exactly. And she keeps getting catchphrases wrong.
Your citywide manhunt didn't work was because Phoenix was in the one place that A, you can't monitor, B, you're afraid to go, and C, don't give a shit about. Now I want to go down there. I want to find Phoenix. I want to put him in a hurt locker. So you want to come with me? Or you want to arrest me, huh?
Okay, I'm with you. Let's go blow this guy.
Wesley Snipes is at his most unhinged in that film.
Love that.
Yeah, I fucking love that movie. Doesn't necessarily hold up. Definitely some of the racism in there. There's a weird like bit where he like makes fun of Chinese people. Wesley Snipes does. But like, I love all the little touches in it. Like at one point, for you British listeners, they go to Pizza Hut, by the way, and I found this out when I worked with some British people one summer. But there's one part in the movie where they go to like fine dining and it's Taco Bell because Taco Bell won the fast food wars.
What?
Yeah, you would love this movie.
Okay. I'm like, you're sending me a lot of information. But you said Taco Bell, so I'm in.
Yeah, Demolition Man, really great.
Okay, done and done.
An honorable mention also, as I mentioned before, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. It's not a good movie, but it's a parody of the Lethal Weapon films. It stars Emilio Estevez and Samuel L. Jackson and Whoopi Goldberg.
Wow!
Yeah, and my favorite moment is like the very beginning of that movie, and it's a scene between her and Tim Curry, and it's just absolutely ridiculous.
Where is the microfilm? The microfilm.
I don't know anything about any microfilm.
Don't play coy with me. This is too important. And this is the plot.
Important enough so that anyone within earshot should listen to each and every detail?
That important.
And you're talking about the microfilm which holds the recipe for turning cocaine into innocent-looking cookies?
Yes.
I don't know anything about it.
In a little while, Miss York, you will be begging for mercy.
No. I'll beg now.
I mean, I would pay lots of money to see Tim Curry and Whoopi Goldberg just riff.
Oh, yeah, and it's a lot like that. So I think it's time then we probably should move into our 1-star reviews.
And there's quite a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. I mean, I have to tell you, I will full confession. I was miserable doing that. And you texted me at one point and you were like, I'm having so much fun. And I was like, I hate you. I hate you so much.
I did. Even the movies that were very, very bad, I was mostly just like, wow, people spent a lot of money to like send that car flying into that building.
Yeah.
Freebie in the bean. Freebie in the bean?
Freebie in the bean.
Right. I was like, this was like the 60s and they were like, let's just throw...
70s.
Okay, yeah. 70s. Like, let's just throw this car into a building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that probably cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like...
No, they did. Hollywood was all about
Man's folly,
which is funny because I feel like a lot of the more buddy cop movies nowadays are sort of moved towards the like lower budget aspect.
Yeah, totally. There's like Let's Be Cops, which is like kind of a newer thing.
One of the ones I watched that I absolutely hated is this independent film called Wrong Cops.
Seen that.
No, it's a waste of time, which bothers me because it's made by this experimental French filmmaker / DJ who made this movie called Rubber a couple years ago that I loved about a fucking sentient tire terrorizing a town. And I loved that weird ass movie. And Wrong Cops was sort of the opposite of that. It basically was his excuse to work with Marilyn Manson, who plays like a teenager in the movie.
Well,
yeah.
Shut it down.
And it was real bad.
He's only good at making movies with inanimate objects?
Yes, essentially. But that's why he should have been perfect for Marilyn Manson.
Bazing! Okay, so Gavin, what is your 1-star review?
So my 1-star review, it's funny because you literally just said it. I've never been more pained than I watched 2014's Let's Be Cops.
Oh!
That movie is...
Oh my God!
...is the worst. I had $270 worth of oral surgery over the course of the last 2 weeks. That was more enjoyable than Let's Be Cops.
Really?
Yes. Let's Be Cops is a movie starring Damon Wayans Jr. and Jake Johnson? Is that his name?
Jake Johnson and or Jack Johnson.
Yeah, sure, whatever. And sadly, Keegan-Michael Key for a scene.
Keegan-Michael Key.
And Nina Dobrovna, or whatever that...
Nina Dobrev, who is a Nickelodeon star.
Yes.
I do know a couple of her songs. It's fine.
And it's this really bad movie where, like, Jake Johnson is a loser and Damon Wayans Jr. is also a bit of a loser. And they dress up as cops to go to a costume party. And they suddenly realize all the power they have as cops.
Well, I hope we all learned a lesson here.
Who are you?
Who are we? Why don't you tell these men who we are?
We're the law, bitch.
That was cool, man.
Felt so good.
Yeah.
Felt so good.
You heard him. We're the law, bitch. We're the new sheriffs in town. Okay? Now get in your car and get out. Now. This is what we needed, buddy.
How far are we planning on taking this, dude?
Why do you ruin everything by thinking about it? Just enjoy the night.
Hey, I'm sorry. I had no idea that you were a cop.
Oh, no, I'm not really a cop.
What do you mean?
We're more than cops. Yeah, we help all the intense units, SWAT, FBI. The other day, we're on a 5150.
And, like, because Jake Johnson has nothing else going on in his life,
Correct.
he becomes obsessed with this idea of them, like, becoming cops. And so they basically start masquerading as cops, and they get involved in a crime ring.
An actual crime ring.
An actual crime ring that, like, for somehow someone got Andy Garcia to be in this movie.
Totally.
And, yeah, it's just really bad. It's written and directed by Luke Greenfield, and I don't know who that is. And but no more. No,
Luke, sweetie, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing terrible, sweetie. I never think it's a reviewer's job to tell you not to see a movie, but I would highly caution you not to see this movie if you once again. $270 worth of oral surgery that I had more fun with.
Gavin, I gotta say, I didn't think it was that bad.
Oh my god, it was like having that drill in my tooth again. Like, I
think there are a lot worse movies than Let's Be Cops that are in the genre, honestly.
I think, you know what, like, and I will admit, like, barring the racism and the homophobia, like, all that stuff makes me really uncomfortable, and, like, I didn't want to sit through that.
Let's Be Cops doesn't have a lot of that.
Right, and that's its saving grace, and also, that's its one thing you can give it.
No, I will say, I think, is it Damon Wayans Jr.?
Yes, yeah.
I think him and Mr. Johnson have lots of chemistry. They're funny human beings.
On top of that, in full confession, I am not a New Girl fan. I've never been a New Girl fan. I know they're both from that show.
They're both from New Girl.
I think, and I like Jake Johnson. I actually like Damon Wayans Jr. because I love happy endings.
Right.
So, like,
totally.
I'm sorry, that's his Twitter name. That's why I keep saying it that way.
Damon Wayans Jr.
Damon Wayans Jr.
And this is not me. I'm loving the mix of our reviews right now. I think, though, because I watched that movie for the first time also, and at the beginning I was like, oh, this is boring, this is dumb. And then it kind of leaned into the buddy copness of it. It didn't make any of the self-referential things.
That 20-minute sequence in which David Wayans Jr. is on, like, acid and just, like, not funny at all.
I thought he was really funny.
Oh my god.
I was like, if there's one person that can pull it off, it is David Wayans Jr.
No. No.
Gaga, yes.
Yeah, I couldn't. And it's funny because I watched some really bad, as I mentioned, Wrong Cops is like rampant with homophobia. 48 Hours is rampant with racism, which is so funny because 48 Hours 2 is not, and you can tell like it is a really telling thing that it's like 83 and 93.
Right,
and it's just oh, the more tolerant 90s. But anyways, Louie, what is your 1-star review?
There are two movies that are just like neck and neck, but since I chose the batshit crazy movie that did well for me, I'm gonna choose the batshit crazy movie that did not do well for me, and that is the movie called Double Team.
Double Team.
I don't know if you're familiar. Do you know what this movie is?
Is that Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman?
It sure is.
Excellent.
Ding, ding, ding. This fucking movie.
There's another How Did This Get Made episode about that. Also, I mentioned earlier Demolition Man. Another How Did This Get Made episode.
Double Team, which is available for streaming on Hulu right now.
So run out, kiddos.
Run out to your local Roku and just fire it up, as I did. Double Team. I don't know who made this movie. I'm not going to look it up.
I don't think you should.
I think this movie is complete Euro garbage.
Yep.
And they decided to just throw everything out into the world. Like, Dennis Rodman, who cannot act his way out of a paper bag, who is the least likable of the Chicago Bulls. Hello? I'd sooner hang out with Scottie Pippen, okay?
That's a person.
Gavin's like, I know sports.
That's the one with the bats, right?
Yes. Jean-Claude Van Damme is a, spy character or something, and he wants to retire to, I don't know, fucking Mykonos or something with his hot wife.
Right.
And they're, fucking in a pool, and then someone's like, no, this one guy's resurged, and you're not out until he's out. So he goes to, this, they know that this bad guy, whoever the fuck it is, he's gonna do a drop or something at a fun carnival festival thing, and so everyone's there gonna wait to kill him, and it's Jean-Claude and a bunch of people. We haven't met Dennis Rodman yet. Turns out the bad guy is there to meet a child, his child. And so, oh no, emotions, things get in the way. There's a huge shootout. They somehow end up in a hospital, in a maternity wing. And so Jean-Claude Van Damme and the bad guy are having a shootout amongst babies. And like they're carrying, and it's like, oh no, don't drop the baby, but also shooting everyone and everything. And it is crazy. Jean-Claude Van Damme eventually gets shot, and he's like, thinks he's dead, but then, oh no, wait, there's a secret, like,
I believe they're hacker monks.
Right, yes, correct. And they're like, you're too good to die, we can't let you die. And so they take all these, like, really cool spies who were, like, have quote-unquote died, and they're on, like, an island that's surrounded by lasers, and they can't escape. They're, like, forced to help investigations around the world. We eventually meet up with Dennis Rodman, who's like an arms dealer. Yeah. And Dennis Rodman literally is wearing like some wannabe future Euro garbage, like a pleather everywhere, colors out the wazoo, looking like...
It's so funny because I would say that the person that Wesley Snipes based his character in Demolition Man off of is Dennis Rodman, because he's like bleach blonde and like very like baggy pants and like...
There's a scene where they're like testing out a new parachute and it's literally a ball. They get into a ball and fall to the earth, and it's completely like, he's like, this tech is crazy, man. Like, you don't know what you're messing around with. And and it's painful.
You bring cash? I'll pay you later. Oops, I just declared a 7-day cool-off period. Thank you very much. You know I'm good for it. Sorry, brother. You got a game.
There is a tiger that comes up in this movie a lot. Jean-Claude Van Damme kicks this tiger in the face.
He sure does.
I didn't even mention who the bad guy is. It is Whiplash from Iron Man. What the fuck's his name? Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke is the bad guy who looks not quite monster-esque yet.
Yeah, he hasn't hit his transformation.
Right. Yes, he had not metamorphized yet.
Exactly.
At the end of this movie, they blow up the Grecian Colosseum.
Yeah.
Or is it? Yeah. And the only way they survive is they get behind a Coca-Cola machine, like a vending machine, and they hide behind it in some genius, ad placement. And like all the explosions just surround them and they're fine because they're nice and cool.
It's basically the Indiana Jones refrigerator.
Yes, correct. Yes. This movie is insane, and bad.
I like that you watched this. I didn't even think of this. It never once crossed my mind.
I could not believe... And he just wants to go home. There's a lot of babies in this fucking movie. A lot of babies almost dying in this movie. There's landmines.
I don't know how much you researched this, but there is a not sequel called Simon Says that is just Dennis Rodman, and he's essentially playing the same character, and they even have the like techno hacker monks in it.
Do you think...
But it's like...
the techno hacker monks. Oh my god, Gavin.
Yeah.
Gavin, I just remembered. Yes. Okay, yes, correct. I thought you were talking about when they get like spirited away to this island. It's not the techno hacker monks. It's like...
Oh, that's right.
It's like an agency.
Yeah.
But the techno hacker monks are like best friends with Dennis Rodman.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're like, bloop, 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 bloop. We're in the future. But also like the Lord. It's so fucking weird. This movie is complete garbage. I almost want you guys to go out and see this movie. Like it is so bad. It's kind of like, I was watching this movie and thinking like, wow, this is bad. But also, oh my god, the nerve. The nerve of man to make this movie.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Oh, absolutely. The movie K-9.
K-9's real bad.
I was either going to talk about K-9 or Double Team, and I just decided I don't want to talk about fucking K-9 ever again. That movie is a disgrace to animals, okay?
Yeah.
And in Double Team, they kick the tiger.
Also, a really terrible fucking movie, Cop Out, the Kevin Smith film with Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan. Which upsets me so much because I actually really do love Tracy Morgan. And, like, that movie is just fucking awful. And if you read a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, you know, Bruce Willis and Kevin Smith fought the entire time and, like, just hated each other.
Rough.
Bruce Willis could not keep up with Tracy Morgan either. And so he would get pissed off and just not read any of his lines that scene, which is why Tracy Morgan has so many lines in the movie. And yeah, that's just a painful thing to sit through, and I do not recommend it.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, there are so many movies that you can, like, I didn't like Freebie and the Bean at all. The Nice Guys, which is...
Nice Guys I like. I actually do
Ryan
like...
Gosling,
I was thinking the Nice... Oh, sorry. Yeah, Nice Guys is...
Nice Guys is Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
and
I was thinking The Other Guys again. Sorry.
The Other Guys was pretty good, too.
Yeah. Michael Keaton steals that movie just with all of his TLC lyrics.
Oh, my God, yes. TLC lyrics, yes.
One case in a career where you go all in. This is it.
All right.
Then you do us proud. Because I don't want no scrubs.
Really?
No.
You're not aware that's a TLC song?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's
You
the
said
second
chasing
time.
waterfalls, now you're saying you don't want no scrubs.
I don't even understand the reference. It's like a tick.
I had no idea what you're talking about. Remember, this thing gets messy. We never talked.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, which isn't as bad as I think people say.
Yes.
Sylvester Stallone and Estelle Getty essentially is the buddy cop.
Yeah.
It's his mom. It's fun. It's not great, but it's fun.
So I guess that ends our 1-star review. Should we before we move into our fast forward, should we revisit what our 5-star reviews and our 1-star reviews were just for everybody?
Sure. You chose...
For my 5-star review, I chose 2007's Hot Fuzz, and for my 1-star review, I chose 2014's Let's Be Cops, which is funny because neither of them are in the heyday of the
right.
cop movie.
You didn't go for for my 5-star review. I went with 1989's Tango and Cash, and God, I don't know when the fuck Double Team was made. It was like 90 something.
But what do we have to look forward to from the genre as we move into our fast forward? The reason why we chose this was actually because there is a pseudo buddy cop film coming out in a couple weeks.
It's coming out this Friday.
It's this Friday. And it's Ryan Gosling, Samuel Jackson, and it's called The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Correct.
It's already played for some critics. We are not those critics. But I can tell you the early reviews have actually been surprisingly positive, especially for a movie that's coming out in August, because movies that come out in August are notoriously terrible.
Right.
But yeah, the early reviews seemed to be that it's a very pleasant surprise.
Right. I imagine like Ryan Gosling and Samuel Jackson seem to be...
Not Ryan Gosling, Ryan
Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson seem to be at their prime of their career. Like,
yeah.
They know how to work the charm off anyone's pants. Like, they got it.
Yeah.
And like, I love that some of the marketing campaign has been like, do you want to see Deadpool and Nick Fury in a movie together? And I'm like, all right, calm down. But I'm going to go see this movie. I want to see it. Yeah.
And I congratulate you for going to see it.
God, Gavin's like, I'm going to go see this indie movie that no one's heard about.
Absolutely. That's my steez.
It's about a lamp.
What do you yes, exactly. Just in general, what do you sort of want to see from the future of the buddy cop comedy? Because I feel like the corner from the most offensive stuff, the racism, the homophobia, the sexism has sort of been turned.
Right.
So I guess what's the next sort of...
I mean, I think like it's hard. Hollywood is not making these like middle budget movies anymore, right? And,
yeah.
And the reason why I'm kind of excited about the Hitman's Bodyguard is like these are two very charismatic characters, and that's the cornerstone of like the very prime heyday of like seeing Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell together, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover together. Like there's a reason why those are so successful. People like these human beings, and having them together, it's magic. And so Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock, like that was magic.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that there are people who want to like work together and like, I'm trying to think like who would I want to see, in a buddy cop movie together? Like I didn't think that Ryan Gosling and, what the fuck's his name?
Australian.
Yeah.
Fighting around the world.
Gladiator.
Yeah.
Jean Valjean. Was he Jean Valjean?
Yeah. Well, he was, no, is he Jean Valjean? I don't know. Les Mis is not my forte.
Right. I didn't know that would work together, but it kind of worked,
Russell Crowe. Sorry,
Russell Crowe. There is, I guess, rumor or maybe not confirmation that Lupita Nyong'o and Rihanna are making that like crazy spy movie together.
Yes, which I would watch the shit out of.
Absolutely.
The other thing, a lot of, as we mentioned, TV was sort of the progenitor of the buddy cop film. It seems to have sort of gone back that way. There is a Lethal Weapon TV show.
Totally.
I know people who like it. I watched the pilot and was like, this is the garbage.
There was a Rush Hour TV show.
Yes. Yeah. I also watched the pilot of that because I will watch the pilot of anything. Garbage. But I'm curious to see, where that's sort of going.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I wish I had...
When are we going to get our first buddy cop musical? That's all I want.
Truly. When are we going to get... I would love our first gay buddy cops.
Yes, well, obviously, and I think I was going to make that suggestion. I think that's where, like, because as I said, these are romance movies. I think Shane Black even said, like, Lethal Weapon, like, the key to the chemistry between Riggs and Murtaugh is the idea that, like, if they were homosexual, they would be together, or if they were a man and a woman, they would be together. And so, like, I think that's clearly the next step.
Well, I mean, so I forgot to mention this, but Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yes, I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
So good.
Yeah, and Gabe Perry.
And Gabe Perry, played by Val Kilmer, and it's so good.
Yeah, which is also Shane Black.
Yeah, and so go and watch that movie for sure.
Yeah.
So all we need now is Gabe Perry and, like, another gay.
Yes. Yeah.
But I would want to see, like, I kind of would want to see gays who are not gonna, like, hook up at the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh,
I think, or maybe like a lesbian cop and like a gay cop. You know, like, or someone who's, like, really butch and, like, a total femme, like...
Yeah, exactly. And I can actually see that happen. I feel like that's probably really...
I need Logo to get on that stat, okay? Like, I would love that.
Yeah. I cast Kate McKinnon. I mean, they kind of like her introduction into Ghostbusters. Like, even though her sexuality is really ambiguous in that movie, like, she's clearly, like, putting the moves.
Isn't there an SNL skit with her and Fats and
shit! I didn't want to say the wrong word.
It's like Chunks or like
it is Fats.
Oh, it's Fats and Dykes.
Yeah, Fats and Dykes. That's
it's Fats and Dykes.
Fats and Dykes, and like
and it's hilarious.
Yeah,
and I love it.
They are hard as iron. They are rough as guts. And if you've been naughty, they won't be nice. It's Dyke and Fats. Save Christmas.
I'm happy we did this genre. I am. I don't want you to think I...
And I'm happy it's over.
Yeah, none of your ideas are invalid, but thank God we can move on to something else. But thank you, everybody, for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And also, if you have a favorite Buddy Cop film, and if there's a film we haven't talked about...
I'm sure we missed a lot.
Yeah, I'm assuming we missed a lot, too. There's plenty of ways to reach out to us. You can... reach us on the Twitter by going to our at The Mixed Reviews.
We're on Facebook at The Mixed Reviews.
You can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com. Also, you can, if you've enjoyed the podcast and you found us a myriad of ways online, you can subscribe to us on iTunes. We're available on Stitcher Radio. We are on Google Play Music, and we have a couple episodes up on SoundCloud. We have to keep rotating them out because SoundCloud won't let us put them up without paying. And
dicks.
Yeah, and we're cheap. And if you are listening to us on a podcast catcher, there's ways to rate and review us, and please drop us a good positive rating. We actually got our first rating.
Yeah.
On Clutter and Kindle. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you as one of our listeners. And so that's our show for this week. We're probably going to be taking an extended week next week because I'm going to...
Lazy.
No, I'm going to Canada, okay?
And I'm laziest of countries.
I'm seeking asylum.
And, true. Take me with you, though.
Exactly.
Honestly.
But yeah, until next time,
we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do when Sheriff John Brown come for you? Tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do. Yeah. Bad boys, what you gonna do, what you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do, what you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits, you go to school and learn to go